Greetings, sending you all some warm, positive vibrations. This is Body-Culinary, and I want to give a shout out to all of my resetters. So it's early on a Saturday, and I'm a super early bird. Shout out to all of my early risers. By a certain time, I've already got cleaning done, beautifying my space, make sure it's smelling good and inspiring. Fed the rabbits a nice large platter of cilantro and greens. Thinking about if I or what I'm going to get from the market to supplement some of the greens that I've been pulling from the yard. Swiss chard, right? Nice. These are tender greens. This is Swiss chard, and then also I have the sweet potato leaf, right? So interesting. We hear fresh picked all the time, but we may not be experiencing fresh picked if we're not growing anything in our yard or in our houses. So I don't know if you can see this, but this green, this is actually a large one. This is a sweet potato leaf. I've experienced two. There are a couple of different varieties, and it almost has like a heart shape. Now, this and the chard, this actually grows really, really easy. Both of them are easy greens to grow. Note the dark green color, that photosynthesis. This is the chlorophyll, right? The plant's essence, liquid, blood, nutrition, the food that the plant is making. So this is what's so important when it comes to oxygenating our blood, is to get these greens in. So most of us, when we think of oxygenating the blood, we can often think only perhaps of wheatgrass or the more stringent or the more potent tasting herbs, right? Many of us would think of wheatgrass. Similarly to when we think of herbs for healing, many of us just think of, so-and-so wana. But there's such a large variety in the plant kingdom and queendom for us to take advantage of. So there are several benefits or distinctions to these plants. Now keep in mind, plants have natural chemicals. They have protections to protect them from sprouting, the seeds from sprouting too quickly or from being eaten. So we want to be mindful of preparation. Many of them are simple. However, we want to just pay attention and not make assumptions, especially if you perhaps are new to growing food, or if you are in another environment. And you are welcome to come on if you like. Greetings, Tamiko. So if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask any of your questions this morning. So one of the things. Good morning, Tamiko.
Yes, good morning, good
Morning,
morning.
good morning. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Fantastic. So can you see the sweet potato? This one is fresh picked, but these things I think can give us more insight and information as we start to handle. Some of us are maybe looking at books with no pictures, or it's not firsthand, so we can't see that when you pull the greens when it's too hot outside. Just like if we're in the heat all day, we behave differently. This is fresh picked, but it starts to look like it's wilted. But this is fresh. It's just pulled out of the garden, as well as, let me see if I can put this in the camera, the Swiss chard. So these are very tender greens. They have slightly different characteristics than kale and cabbage and some of the more tougher textured or quote unquote leathery textured greens. They have slightly different nutrient profiles, and they can behave differently in the preparation of your dishes. Right. So I just want to make these distinctions. This is one of my favorite greens. Collards were always my favorite. This is one of my favorite greens, and there's several varieties. I like for women, especially Afro women. All women are welcome here, but Afro women, for us to start to just put in our minds things that we can grow easily in any environment. It's actually a paradigm shifter when it comes to preparing your food. Also, if we think of like when we're going, and you may hear the bunnies in the background, they want to come around and run. When we think of going into these stores to buy these expensive products for our skin, I want you to think, if they say essence of acai and the essence of this and this herb from coming from Brazil, think of the fresh plant and the juice and the living water and the chlorophyll, and that going into your body. So I like to think of someone that's had a lot of acne, that tried everything natural and unnatural, of taking the products in from the inside first. I don't put anything on my face. Sometimes I may luxuriate my skin because I like self massage every day with cold pressed coconut oil is plentiful where I am. I can make my own coconut cream, olive oil, but anything that I eat, I will put it on my face, but I eat it, I eat it primarily from the inside. So think of it fresh. I was just cleaning out the refrigerator because we want to clean before we purchase. So we're not wasting anything, right? So these are fresh. So cilantro, got a bunch of cilantro growing out inside of the garden. My rabbits will eat loads of this. And it's interesting, rabbits don't stink. And they have the sweetest breath. They don't have the slobber like dogs. No offense to the dog lovers out there. And they smell so sweet. They love just eating leafy greens. So how's that? And they have some of the best manure for the garden. But tender greens, this can sometimes, perhaps, if you have issues with your digestion, or if you are new to adding a lot more fresh produce, sometimes your stomach is not used to your acids, the environment. You're just not used to, you're not acclimated to taking in all of those greens. So perhaps you may want to take in more tender greens. So we're usually more familiar in the States, or for living in the cities, we're more familiar with spinach and mesclun and baby lettuces. Those greens are picked when they're very young. Again, the characteristics are different. Baby and infant and toddler and the 4-year-old and then the 10-year-old, different, right? At different stages of development. So when it comes to greens, they're going to taste different. Those baby greens are much more tender. They're even sweeter when you pick them, right? So we may not have an eye for tender greens. And then also from a culinary standpoint, as well as taste, the tender greens can have a tendency to be a lot more expensive at the market. Usually you'll see those better quality and more variety of the tender greens at the farmer's market, right? Lots of chefs have a tendency to know, the 14th Street Market, the Brooklyn Market, they know the local farmers markets, and many of them have relationships with the farmers so they can get the fresh picked greens, those tender greens. Baby, little kale, fresh kale is going to taste different, a lot more tender, right, than the older, mature kale. So these are some distinctions we may not be making. It just may not be on our radar. We're just thinking, I got kale. And if I'm paying more money for those tender organic greens, I'm going to want to enjoy them more. It's less likely if I'm going to spend a whole lot of money, let's say, for example, for baby lacinato kale or dinosaur kale or the purple kale. Purple kale is very, very tough. The baby kale is much more tender. I'm not likely to want to make that into a chip, right? I don't want to pull all that water out of that little baby. Part of the reason I chose it is to enjoy the texture. So food is very sensual and you want it to be enjoyable. So there's all these little nuances that will play into us enjoying the food. So the take home for today in terms of how can I say? I like to think in pictures and to give you some greetings. I thought I made this private, but maybe it's not private. So shout out to all of my resetters that are on the Nutritional Reset. I set this for private and sometimes it doesn't go for private, but welcome everyone. So this is shout out to those folks that are participating in the reset, and we're making some distinctions so that you can expand your idea. And I notice over time your plates change, your ratios of your vegetables change, your comprehension of I really don't need all of the sweeteners, the stevia, the agave. You actually live without them. You really don't even need a dehydrator. However, as a chef and a creative person, I'd like to expand your vocabulary and your experience. If you have more experiences, light bulbs are going to go off. And you'll get to experience some things that you like, some things that you don't like. It's a big discovery process, which I find can keep you very excited, right, about your eating. Do you have any questions, Tamiko? So you're welcome to ask any questions at any time. So this one is a little old. This one is sprouting. I do have some seeds from a farmer. But if you're not familiar, this is jicama, right? This one is a little older. It starts to get like a rock, right? That's why I love handling food. So you can see I can still peel this and use this. And one of the dishes in the reset is the jicama potato salad. So this is nice. I like to think of this kind of like as a cross between a potato and an apple. Very, very juicy and crunchy. This is delicious in our potato salad. And it's not so starchy. It's not going to weigh you down. And it also will give you that crunch, right? So again, we have our staple, our Grandma Lou's hot sauce is live hot pepper sauce. If you're more sensitive too hot, you can cut down on the habanero. And this is anti-inflammatory. This is a staple in my house. So not only do I take it for flavor, anti-inflammatory, even though I'm not eating animal flesh. At this point in my life, I think this could be beneficial to anyone. So if I wanted to feel like I want it to be a bit more warm, I can add warm, or if you want to warm or hot water to this and use this kind of like as a broth. This is a staple. If I make a jar, sometimes I make jars pass to my sister and to my friends or people that are visiting. I can take a small spoon of this on a regular basis, especially if I cut down on the hot pepper. I like heat. Some people's stomachs may be more sensitive. Keep in mind that hot pepper can burn out different parasites that are in the system, right? So I can take a spoon of this and put it on my food for flavoring. I can put it in greens. I can put it in some of the other sauces that are in your recipes in the reset. This is a staple around my house. So if you ever see my hands are very, very yellow, I do not have jaundice. My hands are in turmeric quite often. So again, as I say, I could get 2 peach pits. I love playing in food, and I'm also learning as I'm preparing the food, how the food behaves. So many of these different foods, beets, carrots, turmerics, were traditionally used as dyes for fabric. My sister and I, my homie, when we were traveling to Guatemala, she's an artist. So we went to visit, there's a lot of backstrap weaving. So my sister weaves and welds and all this other stuff. And we were visiting was she Ketchy Mayan? Well, we're visiting one of the Mayan women that does backstrap weaving, and different groups of women do different things. So this one woman, she went into the hills to pull the plants in order for us to dye the cotton, and she had the cotton tree right inside of her yard. So this is one of the reasons I'm big on the plants, because it will give you a paradigm shift in a whole nother respect. You'll see just how we say it intellectually, but we're still not engaged in the process of handling these plants. That's why I call this reactivating the ways of the mothers and the grandmothers. So in terms of our green water, I can use these greens right here. This is so simple, right? I could even add more than this, right? Because we talked the other day about serving sizes and portions, right? When we're trying to stuff this. Morning. Yeah, I'm gonna come just now. So right now. So if I pack this down, I would be stuffing this into 1 cup or 2 cup, right? So we'll see, like if this is a plate, quite often I see it's not a whole lot of greens and vegetables and color on plate. So I want to encourage you to use as much color as possible. This is where you can relax with the portions. I think it's interesting. Sometimes we can be very stringent with the vegetables, and then when people go for the protein, the starch, and the fat, it's more than half of the plate, and those are more concentrated calories, and those are also food substances that are much more challenging to digest. So how we prepare them is going to be important to our palate, our experience, right? Our overall consumption experience, and our digestion. So these are things we want to keep in mind. So just to ensure that you've got all kinds of colors, my rule of thumb is at least 3, that the colors are popping, right? I want the colors of the rainbow, right? I want those red, gold, and green, definitely purples. We've been talking about the purples, and you can look that up, the nutrition profile that is in the purple vegetables. So I'm gonna make my green water quickly. So I'm gonna take these. I don't know if you can see real quickly. I'm going to take my greens. And if they're organic, and if you're pulling them from the yard, make sure that you rinse them. So being that I'm not using any kinds of pesticides inside of my garden, I know that my stuff is organic. So actually, when I was when I was a young mom, I didn't really get organic. I just know I wanted healthy food and I wanted it cheap. So I'll do a quick rough chop, right? We're keeping stuff real simple because we're not focusing on a whole bunch of powders and pills. Now, that's the Swiss chard and that's the sweet potato leaf. And then also I'm going to take some cilantro. Now, I got a lot of cilantro planted in the yard. Cilantro is very, very important for pulling heavy metals out of the system, right? So look, not powders. This is just a cilantro. So this is also something that's actually easy to grow, right? So I'm going to add some cilantro. At the end, I had mentioned before the Jamaican lime or local lime. So you may find these at the markets where they have Western, Caribbean products, right? So I have my cilantro, which of course is another tender green. And here's those green bags that I was talking about that extend the life of your produce. Okay, and then as we see, plenty of seeds in the, I would say, Jamaican or Caribbean limes. There's several varieties. So it's not an orange. It has a really beautiful, fragrant scent to it. So I could put cilantro and all of this right down a little NutriBullet. If you don't have a Vitamix, not a problem. Use the cleanest water that you have available to you. So these do have like measurements on them. You can make it as thick or as thin as you want. And then I'm going to squeeze the lime right into it. I'm going to use the juice of the lime. So I've been through all kinds of health crazes, phases. Actually, I would just say it's been a journey over the years. So it's a lot. I'm really into simplicity. We're making things, we're conditioned to make things too complicated. And sometimes that'll be a deterrent. And sometimes we won't get anything done because we're trying to make things so complicated. Now, when I'm saying green water, this is what I'm talking about. This is going to make your internal smell good. I remember back in the days spending a lot of money for liquid chlorophyll. But where's the chlorophyll? It's already inside the green. So I'm going to strain this through one of the plant milk bags, and that's my green water, right? Other thing I just wanted to say, for breakfast, I could have one or two of the grapefruits. And this whole pepper is not too much, just hardly any calories. You want beautiful skin, that natural silicone and this, and the cucumbers. This red pepper. This is actually a great, great combination. I might even throw some papaya, and I would have this after I do my movement session. So much more for us to cover. I just want to give you some ideas, on some quote unquote calories and portions. This has weight on it, and it's not too much. I'm not juicing this. I'm going to suck the juice right out of it. If I hand juice this, I can capture a lot of the flavor. I'm the type to scoop everything into a bag and get the heck out the door. So I might cut this into quarters, right? I've done that, on the road as a mom, training clients early in the morning. I might cut this into quarters and chop these into big slices, into quarters or eighths, and eat it out of a Ziploc, in between my clients. I could eat 2 peppers, you know what I'm saying? A slice of papaya and a grapefruit, not the whole papaya. So we can eat a lot more than just like one banana or one orange. So I think coming up, to Miko, and shout out to Lily. Hope your day's off to a great start. We're going to be talking more about some knife skills, looking at your knives and what difference. They can make a big difference in your food preparation, also in your enjoyment of your food, because of the colors, the textures, there's the flavor balancing, right? This is all an art. So if you have questions, right, continue to, if you have questions, post your questions inside of the reset, inside of the private room, inside of the chat. Do scroll all the way back through there so that you can see what other people have been sharing in terms of their meals and what they've come up with, and see how people's plates have been changing as the light bulbs go off. It can be very, very inspirational. If you don't have the guide, I'd recommend you get the guide, Whole Living Foods in the Hood, with menus to fit your budget. You see lots of things, tips, that can shorten your learning curve for what I've been doing all these years. Not so concerned about the label you call yourself. However, you may just want to allow your body to rest and really see how your body responds to whole, fresh, unprocessed foods for a week or two or a period. Your body will let you know how it responds to whole, fresh food. This is excellent if you have acne, hyperpigmentation, and scarring. Your cells will respond to the real food. Also, there's natural beauty, no products. Again, I'm using the whole fresh food. First of all, I'm adding the products, the food from the inside, right? From the inside. Scroll back through and you'll see like what my skin was looking like, the cystic acne and hyperpigmentation. That was not products, that was only food. So I'm going to jump out of here into the garden, looking at some bush sticks and some different projects for trellises. Y'all create a great day, and I will see you soon. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you soon.